Hey everybody, welcome to my video today. I'm going to be covering the Fisker Ocean's TPMS or Tire Pressure Monitoring System. The Ocean has an unusual system where the actual sensor is not in the valve stem like a lot of cars have. It's actually a sensor that detects the motion of the wheel so that the car knows if one of the tires is low. It'll present that on the screen. However, it doesn't give specific PSI for the individual tires. So that got me thinking about using an aftermarket system. I purchased two different aftermarket systems that I'm going to try out on the tires. They have small sensors that attach to the outside of the valve stem. Then they communicate via Bluetooth to a central panel. And then that panel can be installed in the center console area so you can see the individual tire pressures. So I'm going to unbox these and try them out on the car and see which one I like better. So let's get started. These are the two boxes. The first one is by a company called Jansite, and the second one is by Vesafe. So let me open this one first. Just has a flip open box. We have a manual QR code if we want to read that. There's also a manual right here that shows information about how to install it and specs on it. It's in both English and Chinese. In the box itself, we have the individual pressure sensors, and they have like little labels on them so you can tell which one is which. For example, we have the rear left, rear right, and front left. And then these get installed over the valve stem like I mentioned before. So they stick out a little bit, but since they're black, I think they'll blend in well with the tire itself. Then we have some other double-sided tape for mounting the display. We have a USB cable, USB-A to micro USB. We have some installation tools, and I think these are little washers so that these can be locked into place so you don't have to worry about people taking them. And then inside this bag is the display itself. This has actually kind of neat. It has a little solar power here, so if you mount this in an area that has light, you can power the device. And up there it is. On this side we have the USB port for power. We got some buttons here. So when we power it on, these are most likely so you can change settings or the display itself. So I will mount this in the car and see how it works. I see here you can angle the solar on the top like that. So if you have this mounted on the top of your dashboard, you can do it like this. So I'll see how it fits in my car. All right, so that's basically what this one looks like. Put everything back in again. And now for the other one by Vesafe. Open that one up. We have a, looks like a sticky mount, so you can put this on top of a dashboard so it won't slide around. We have a dust shield installation. We have a QR code here, basically about their warranty program. Then we have the instruction manual itself. Pretty detailed. Tech specs and so on. I'll put that aside. And this one also has very similar sensors that are marked for location so you know where they go. Left front, left right, right front, and right rear. So very similar in size to the other one. Let's get the main component here. And this one has a nice glossy blue surface here. We got some buttons on top. This one also has a solar panel on the top. We have the display on the front. We have a USB port on the side. This appears to be USB-C. Let's see if there's anything else underneath here. Oh yes, we got a bunch of other things. Like I mentioned, I saw a USB-C port, so they do have a USB-A to USB-C cable. We also have the tools to install it. We have what appear to be rubber caps. I wonder how these get installed. I'll have to look at the manual and see how these things work. And then we have this here. I am not sure what this is used for, so I'll have to look that up too. All right, I figured out what these two pieces are for. This is a removal tool for the batteries. So if you put the pressure sensor in here and then rotate, this will open up and then you can replace the battery that's inside here. There are also rubber O-rings that come with this to replace the O-ring that's inside in case it gets broken. So that is a nice feature to have. You can replace the batteries in these when they do die. All right, so that's basically these two systems. What I'll probably do is install both of these at the same time and have one of these manage the two left side tires and then the other kit do the two right side tires. And then I can compare them both at the same time and use them for a whole week and see how accurate they are compared to a, I'll use a third-party tire pressure inflator and get a baseline for the PSI for the tires, and then compare these two and see which one I like better. So I'll get started, I'll install these, and we'll take it from there. All right, I've decided to do this monitoring system using the front and rear left side, and then this system I'm gonna do the right front and rear side. So those go with those go with those. Quick comparison between the two sensors. The Vesafe one is a little bit shorter than the other one. About the same diameter on both. So there you go. Here we go. This is the front left tire. And for the specs on these tires, the front tires get a 44 PSI and the rear tires get 49 PSI. So I haven't checked the PSI in a couple weeks, so it's a good time to put a tire inflator up to it and get it up to the correct numbers. And right now I'm at 45, which kind of makes sense. When I last inflated the tires, it was colder weather, and roughly for every 10 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll get a 1 PSI increase. So temperatures have been going up, so the tires are most likely going up too. So I'll lower this so that it says 44 even. All right, so I have 44.0 now, and well, a little bit more, but by the time I disconnect this and put the new one on, it should be about 44. All right. All right, so I am going to install the Jansite sensors on the front left right here. I have the locking washer here that I am going to thread on. Then I find the correct sensor, this one being the front left, and then I will also insert this on all the way. And then what we do, we use the little wrench and we will adjust this so that the washer locks up to the sensor itself. I can do that pretty much by my hand here. And then you just do it counterclockwise until it locks into place. And that's what it looks like. So pretty easy to install. Now I'm on the rear left side. I will remove the valve stem cover, and I'll also attach my inflator to it and see what we get as far as the pressure. I'll hold the on button. And just like the front one, it's about a pound, 1.7 pounds over the stated level it should be, which is 49. So I will just let this out. All right, that is good. I will take that off. And just like the front ones, I will thread on the lock. And then use the correct sensor. This is the rear left side. Thread that on. Turn that as much as we can so that it is locked. And now I will move the washer behind it so it is snug against the sensor, and then use the little wrench here to tighten it. All right, that's as far as it goes. So I got the front left and the rear left, both those sensors installed, and I will go inside the car now and show you what it looks like with the monitor. So I have the USB cable attached to the inside of the console area here, and then I just had placed the monitor right here for now. This is totally just for demonstration. I could put it down this way, I could put it up on the dash. It's very flexible since it's very small. Right now I'll remove the little LCD protector so we can see the screen easier. And I will now turn the car on, and that will give me power. All right. So here is the display itself. It appears that this has a built-in battery inside of here. So I'll charge this up, and then eventually I think you can just unplug the USB cable with a full battery charge. If this is on the dash, the solar cell on top should give enough power to this to keep this running without it having to be plugged in all the time. So that is pretty nice. All right, this complicates things a little. There is a minimum of 7 psi for the alarm for low pressure. So that means I'm gonna have to have all 4 of these installed so I can get this to work. Otherwise, the alarm's going to go off on this. So that is one downside to this one unit. The alarm system requires all 4 of these to be installed. So let me see what it looks like when I get all 4 of these in place. Here's the display showing the tires. This column here has temperature. So we have, for the front left tire, we have 72 degrees Fahrenheit with 43 psi. The front right is 43 psi with 81 degrees. 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 48 psi for the rear left, and for the rear right we have 48. I tested these with my calibrated inflator, which gave me 44 psi for both the front and 49 for the rear. So it seems that this is off by 1 psi, which isn't too bad. I'm fine with that. Actually, the temperature outside is a bit unseasonably cold, so tomorrow I bet these will show as higher numbers anyway, so I'm not going to have a problem with that. So if you want to change anything, you press the button on top, is the M button. You hold that down for a couple seconds, and then you can go and change. Like I mentioned, if you want to change the PSI to bar, you can just press the left or right button here. So if I change that, it'll be bar. If I press it again, it's PSI. The center button, if I press that, it goes up to temperature. If I press left, it'll change it to Celsius. Press it again, it goes to Fahrenheit. Press the center again. That is showing the upper limit that it'll give a warning at. So if it sees a PSI of 58, this could be any number. I just chose 58. It could be 56. It really doesn't matter too much. And then if I press it again, it does the lower alarm. So I don't want it to go below 41. And if I press it again, there's the temperature warning. So if any of the temperatures are above 149, the alarm will go off. And that's a total arbitrary number on my part. I have no idea what the max temperature should be for tires. So I'm just setting it for 149 for right now. And then if I press the M button again, it just cycles through. So if I hold it down for 2 seconds, it saves everything. And as it's connected to the USB, the battery is charging, as you can see here. So I'll let this charge up, and then when I'm using it during the week, I'll see how much power the solar cell provides to it. If it's sufficient, I may not even need to have the USB connected to keep this powered up. So where to put this? So right now, I'm not sure where I want to keep this right yet. This could go on the top of the dashboard. You could put it down below. If you don't want to get solar, you can put it down low. For example, down in this area here, you could just use this as, instead of the solar, you can just put some double-sided tape or Velcro and just attach it to underneath here. And then you can have a little display right like that, which not too bad. It kind of blocks the phone thing a little bit, but this is just temporary. I am just going to let it sit in this area here where the phone would be, and maybe off to the side. So it really doesn't matter. But I think this is a nice display. It's very small and doesn't take up a lot of room. So I'll let you know how this works during the week and give you some feedback on that. So stay tuned for the next part of the video. Here I am in the car, and I use that little rubber pad from the other manufacturer to place the display on. It's really nice since it is sticky and it doesn't move anywhere. One thing I forgot to mention is that to turn the unit on or off, you need to press the very far right side button for a long press, and then it will turn on. I fully charged this with the USB in the garage, and I'm going to use it not connected by USB in the car, just using the solar. I'm curious to see how long it will stay on. I suppose if you want to maximize the battery in this, you could turn it off every time you stop the car and park for the night, and then turn it on in the morning. That would probably be the best thing. Or you could just leave it on all the time. I'll have to see which works out better as far as that goes. But as you can see, we have the current temperatures for the tires, all roughly around 68 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the front are 43 PSI and the rear are 48 PSI. And remember, when I used my inflator, I got 44 for the front and 49 for the rear. So there's a 1 PSI discrepancy with this unit. Not a big deal, but I thought I'd let you know about that. So I'll continue to use this for the week and note anything that is out of the ordinary, or just let you know how it works on a day-to-day basis. So I'll let you know how that goes next. I think the location between the driver's screen and the center display seems to be a pretty good choice. Obviously, you can put it anywhere you want. This seems to be a nice eye level when you're looking at different things. You get a nice look at the PSI on the tires. And also, this is probably optimal for the solar on the top. And here is a view of the display at night. Not bad. It's not too bright, but it is contrasty enough that you can see it well. And it's a little bit colder this evening, 55 degrees for the tires, and it is 51 outside, right? An interesting thing I've noticed is that this display will turn off after a certain period of time. I'm trying to figure out if it is a motion detected or is it based on light. So I'm going to set up my action camera here and have it watch the display and see how long it takes to turn off after I shut the car down. So after reviewing the camera footage, it seems like the screen shuts off after 5 minutes of nobody in the car, no motion, and no lights. I'm going to test it again during the day and see if it does the same thing. So I'm not sure if it's the lack of lights in the car that is turning it off or some sort of motion control. I noticed when I did come back to the car, when all the lights were off, I opened the car up and got inside, it turned on. So it's leading me to believe that there's some sort of motion sensor on this display. But in any case, that's a good sign that it turns off after a certain period of time, because then it's not wasting the battery. I'm looking at the battery symbol on the screen and it's still showing full. So the way that it's going, I think it should last an extremely long time. And then if you have the solar providing additional power to it, I think this is a good solution. I don't see the need to keep a USB cable attached to it all the time. Let's see if daytime makes a difference. Okay, I tested the screen for turning off during the daytime and light, and it was about 6 minutes after I left the car, turned off. So roughly the same as what I did last night, which was around 5 minutes. That's pretty good. I assume it's using some form of detection on the interior. Still not sure how it does it. The manual doesn't mention it at all. Here's an example. When the screen is off, I just motion my hand in front and on top, and it seems to wake up. Since I'm in here, I want to also say that having it located on the dash can be a little difficult in bright sunlight. As you can see here, the screen is very hard to see. Unfortunately, there's no adjustment for the brightness on the LCD that I could find anywhere. So it's plenty good in overcast conditions or at night, but in bright sunlight, it is very hard to read. So a little bit disappointed on that. Possibly if I relocate this to down below, most likely it will not be a problem because there's no sun directly on that area. One thing that I noticed in the evening is that the backlight turns on and off, as you can see here, where it may be on bright or low. Hard to tell. But I noticed this just at sunset. We are on Thursday, which is day 4, and I noticed that the battery is still 3/4 full, so that's a good sign. Still a couple more days to go to give this a full workout. All right, I ended my 5-day driving test for the TPMS, and as you can see here, this is in the evening and the pressure is 45 for the front and 51 for the back, which is not surprising. You usually get a couple pounds increase while you're driving. So far, I'm pretty happy with the results. It seems to work pretty well. So now I'm going to compare it with the other TPMS system and see how that does. At this point, I'm going to remove the tire pressure sensors. I need to use the little tool here, and I just need to turn the little nut behind it, and then I can remove the sensor itself, and then take this nut off. So this one is now removed. I am going to now install the other. I found out that the rubber thing is for a dust shield, so you can put that on like this over the valve stem. And just like the other one, it also comes with a nut. Put that on. Now I have the other sensor, and this is the right rear, and I will insert that. And then I can push the nut so it is tight against the sensor. I'll use the little included wrench and then tighten it. All right, so it is now installed and it looks very similar to the other one. I'll do this for the other 3 wheels. Then I'll go inside the car and see how the pressure works with the main device. At this point, I've installed all 4 of the sensors for the Vesafe system, and I fully charged the main unit here with the USB-C charger with a USB cable that I had in the garage. So it's fully charged, and I'm going to do the same test I did with the original unit. I'm going to drive it for 5 days and see how it works. It also has the battery inside. I'll see how much battery usage it has. The other thing I want to go over now is how to use this. There is an on-off button right here, a set button, and a plus and minus button here for changing settings. So let me hold on to the power button for a few seconds. That will turn it on. I need to change the settings, so hold down the set button on top for several seconds. And now it's in set mode. I can change PSI to bar. I'll keep it on PSI. Press the set button again, it goes to temperature. I'm going to change it to Fahrenheit. Press the set button again. What's interesting about this unit is I can adjust high and low temperatures for the front and rear tires separately, which is definitely a nice feature since the front and rear tires have different PSI settings as well as temperature. So let me go through that now. Right, for the front tires, the PSI is normally around 44, and I have a high limit of 49, which is 5 above, pretty normal. I'll hit set. The low I have is 41. Let's see. Let me change that to 40. I'll hit set. And now for the rear tires, they are set for 55. Let me change that to 54, which is 5 above the setting. And hit set again. And 45. Let me change, yeah, 45 is fine as a low. And press set again. They also have a 5th sensor for a spare tire, which I'm not going to be using. So I'm just going to ignore that for now. Ignore that. And there's also a temperature warning here. 158 degrees max, and it'll have an alarm for that. As with the other one, I'm not sure what the correct temperature should be for tires for max for an alarm. I'll just leave it with the default. If I press set again, it goes back to the original setting, PSI. So we're done. So press set for 3 seconds, and that saves the information. So let's look at the tire pressures on here. Right now I see 2 of them showing, but there should be 4 of them on here. Let me just give it a few seconds to start up. We have 45 for the 2 front tires PSI and 50 for the rears. This is not surprising since I just got back from driving from work, probably 1 or 2 PSI above the normal setting. They should be 44 for the front and 49 for the rear. Temperatures are showing 75 for all of them except this one showing 77. I kind of like the display. It's very similar to the other unit. It has the tire PSI in a larger font on here. And it looks to be pretty easy to read. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place this on the dash with the sticky pad that they had here. And that's where I'm going to keep it for the test. I may also put it on the left side of the steering wheel. Both of them seem to be good locations to have this. This also has a solar panel on top, and I'll see if that helps during the week to recharge it. And that's about it. It's very similar to the other unit, and hopefully it works just as well as the other one does. So I'm going to let this turn off by itself. I'm not sure if it has a similar photo sensitive on-off switch as the other one does, so I will let that go, and I'll see how that works. All right, we're going to open the car up, and I noticed that the screen had turned off, and it just turned back on. All right, according to the camera, it took 10 minutes for the screen to turn off. So, not too bad. that should cut down on the power usage. I'm going to test it again during the day and see if there's any difference. Here is the Vesafe and it's asleep. Let's see if I can wake it up. Oh, there it goes. It's awake now. So let me do a test in the daylight and see how long it takes to turn off. All right, according to my camera, the Vesafe stayed on for about 17 minutes before it shut off, but that may have been because I've been walking around inside the garage. Maybe that kept it on. But in any case, it does turn off after a certain period of time. So I have the Vesafe installed today, and I noticed that the numbers are pretty good. Considering the temperature out, they are right about where you want them. 44 for the front and 49 for the rear. One of them's a little bit higher since I just drove around the block a little bit. One thing I noticed about the Vesafe display is when it wakes up, it doesn't show the tires if it's been asleep for a long time. I guess it needs to wake up the sensors when they start moving. So I noticed that a little bit different than the other system. Here I am on the third day. Just like the other unit, there is a light adjustment or backlight adjustment. It shows as a little tiny sunrise over the battery in the center of the car icon. And I notice it does get a little bit brighter. Right now I'm in the shade. We'll see what it looks like when it starts driving. Here I am in sunlight. As you can see, there's that little sunrise icon over the battery in the center of the car icon. And it has a bit brighter backlight during the day. And it seems fairly readable. So, not bad. Here's an example of how much the sun can make a difference. On the right side of the car, you can see that the PSI are higher. That happens to be the side I was parked in for most of the day, where the sun was facing the right side of the car. So a couple PSI higher due to the sun. Another thing I wanted to comment on is the Vesafe seems to have a backlight that is brighter during the sun than the other model. And also the battery after 4 days is still marked as full. So that makes me think that this has a larger battery than the other model. Another cool location is to take the TPMS monitor and place it in front of the steering wheel. There's a flat area just in front that stays still, and you can put the sticky pad on there and the monitor stays in this position, and when you're driving you have all the information directly in front of you. I think this looks great and almost has an OEM feel to it. So definitely something to consider when you're placing this on the dash. While most people are probably satisfied with the basic TPMS kit on the Fisker Ocean that warns which tire is low, I prefer knowing the specific pressure numbers for each tire. And that's where these two kits come in. On Amazon, there are a dozen or more similar systems, and these represent the low and mid-price solutions at $27 for the Jansite on top and $46 for the Vesafe down below. So I spent the last 2 weeks using these two systems, and each one got a whole week to see how they work. Both are easy to set up and use. Both seem to accurately track the tire pressures. Make sure that you install the sensors tightly. I have read that some systems may leak pressure over time but I didn't notice any of these units doing that during their use. Both have solar cells on top to supplement power. I don't think you'll need to charge them up very often, if at all. And both have sleep modes of 5 to 10 minutes of inactivity or motion, so that preserves the battery as well. As far as advantages go for the Jansite, it's smaller and has a more compact size, and the solar cell on top is adjustable, which is nicer for placement. The advantages of the Vesafe are it has an additional separate front and rear tire settings, which is nice considering the Ocean takes advantage of this. It also, I've noticed, has longer battery life. It has a better screen. Definitely easier to view during sunlight. It has smaller sensors that go over the valve stems. It also includes a sticky mount that keeps the unit from moving when placed on the dash. I also think it has a more premium look. You can get it in this blue. You can get it in this blue or black as options. It also comes with a sensor battery replacement tool. So overall, I have to give the Vesafe the nod for the better TPMS kit. I think it has more advantages that I enjoy using. As I mentioned, the Jansite is $27 and the Vesafe is $46 at the time of my purchase. So not surprisingly, the one with the more features does cost more. If you're interested in either kit, see the links in the video description. I hope you found this video useful. Please leave any questions or comments down below. I read them all. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.